little rainy out. I like to record in the rain because this cheap ass phone might just fucking die on me. I've gone through so many of these, and every time like people tell me, yeah, get this one, it's better for filming. Get that one, it's better for filming. I just get whatever. I told Nia, I said Nia, like, give me a phone, just not something really nice, but not a complete pile of crap. Get me something right in the middle, something like a mid-range phone. Now she would get me whatever, like, because her plan is good, but I don't. The thing with me and having super nice stuff is I always wreck it and lose it. I don't like having. Throughout my life, whenever I get something that was really nice, whether it was some kind of piece of technology or whatever, or a car or anything, all I'd do is worry about fucking it up, and I'd always fuck it up. So I'm the mid-range guy. Just get me something passable. The thing about that is, you know, I go through so many phones because I use it. You know, you're not supposed to do all this. Hey, brother, what's up? How's it going? How's it happening? The thing is, I don't. You're not supposed to overuse it for the stuff I use it for, which is everything. I overuse these phones. I don't have a PC or a laptop, so I do everything on here, and that's why I burn them out so quickly. Who gives a fuck now? Who gives a fuck? Sorry about that. Now I got my fucking personal grievances out of the way. The world currently around us looks like it's completely going to shit. Everything's on fire. But you gotta remember, all this bad stuff, or what you see socially, economically, all the bullshit going on, it's not coming from a place of strength. It's coming from a place of desperation. We're heading toward a time when all will be judged, and that's really what they're afraid of, and that's really what CERN is all about, and messing with the timelines and the gate program. It all kind of dovetails into one thing: trying to control reality, trying to control time. People are trying to avoid judgment. You know, some of the guys that have been here for a long time, you know, doing evil things, you know, and they're doing evil things with our energy. Not to get too into the weeds or too back to the beginning, but basically we're being used here to fuel a few different bad characters who are running the whole show here and enriching themselves in the material realm, using our energy, using whatever you want to call it, our God power, our divine energy. They're supposed to be caretakers and teachers until the music teacher of all people decided, you know, instead of raising this kid here and teaching all this stuff, and you know, in this school as it was, if we fucking sucked off his energy, right, made him a prisoner here, or her, or whatever, the kid, and took all its energy, we could live like kings and queens in this material realm here for all time. We would be our own gods. We wouldn't have to work for God anymore, you know. So that's kind of what happened. Well, it's not kind of what happened. It is what happened. But that time was going to be finite. They're only going to be able to do it for so long, and now we're reaching the end point. And they're trying to avoid judgment, and that's where you have things like messing with the timeline, with things like with CERN, the Hadron. And CERN is just one Hadron Collider. There's a bunch of them. There's like a dozen of them. It's just that's the one they want you to focus on, that one, so you don't talk about how there's like a dozen more. But they're all over the world. Some of them much bigger than CERN. CERN's not the largest. They always say that too. It's all out there. You can find all this information, but you know, how much time you want to put into it, I don't know. That's the whole thing too. It's like they want you to spend a lot of time rummaging through research to try to figure out that NASA's just putting fucking shuttle-shaped balloons up in the sky for you to look at. They wonder why there was that they had a shortage of, what is that, hydrogen? The hydrogen supplier, whoever, you know, sells hydrogen. I remember there was a congressman trying to stump for them to get there. Am I using the right word? Hot. What is in the balloons? Not nitrous. Whatever powers balloons. I don't know what it is. It's one of those words that escaped me. He was up there talking about what a sad world there would be if clowns weren't able to have balloons anymore because they weren't passing this fucking bill that would enable them to produce or get or sell more hydrogen. Is it hydrogen? What's that stuff you put in fucking balloons? It's gonna drive me insane. This is ruining my whole presentation. That is, not everything else, not every other element of what I'm doing is ruining my presentation. That particular thing is. But yeah, I mean, you could spend, the point is, you could go down any of these rabbit holes and spend a lot of time in them and waste a lot of energy in them. And you're gonna come to the same conclusion. There is an evil force here that pervades everything and has you under its sway. And you have to side with God. You have to put yourself in God's hands. Be aware, endure, and bear witness. It's not about, you're not supposed to beat the beast. You can't beat the beast. It's not about being the beast. What's homeboy doing here? What's homeboy doing here? What's every homeboy doing? No one's like following any of the traffic shit. Well, the cars usually don't here. That's a weird thing. It's like you have lights for pedestrians, you have lights for the cars, but the only ones that follow the lights are the pedestrians. People in the cars are like, I'm in the car. I'm going to go on that one. Might makes right. Well, now's might makes right. I'm not even going to say it. There's so many things I let so many good things just float by my transom. You know, because I still have to live here. But, yeah, you're not supposed to beat it. You're supposed to endure. You're supposed to use every ounce of everything you have. You know, you're supposed to go to the very limit. You're not supposed to defeat the beast. That's God's job. You know, that's not your job. Alright, I've been smoking the cigarette without smoke, so... Oh, wait a minute, no, I'm walking down here, I'm not going into Target. Okay. Got so used to going into Target. I was ready to drop you off from there. What reminded me of this is, Lord of the Rings keeps popping up. I don't know why. Lord of the Rings keeps popping up in my mind lately. I don't know if it's the parallels to this world. There's a lot of them. Gollum and the 7-0 situation. But I was watching a video about Professor Tolkien's letters. He would get these letters from just fans, right? And he would sit down like for a couple hours and write these well, I don't know how long it would take him to do them, but it looks like a couple hours. He'd write these really long, detailed letters back to fans. It's really cool. Over the years, people collected them. Some were sold at auction. Whatever the case may be. He was talking about how, in the end, when Frodo got the ring to Mount Doom, in the movies, I think, I forget how exactly it happens. Him and Gollum, like, get in a little scuffle, and Gollum falls into the pit, and it kills and it destroys the ring. But in the book, it's not like that. In the book, at the very end, Frodo fails. He fails. He gets turned by the ring at the very end. He's standing there at the crack of doom, He's about to throw it in, and he's like, no, this is mine. And it overtakes him, and he fails in destroying it. And what happens is, I think at that point, Gollum grabs it, trips, or something happens where Gollum gets the ring, and then Gollum trips. Frodo doesn't do anything. He fails his whole thing. That's an often overlooked part of the books there. And someone did, one of the fans kind of said something about that, like he got the whole way and he couldn't, what the hell? I mean, he turned in the end, and if Gollum hadn't slipped, that would have been it. And Professor Tolkien explains that God, he calls him Elune, the god of Middle-earth, who's like our God, except he's a god of Middle-earth. It was one of the only few times he, well, I don't know, it's debatable how many times he divinely intervened in that, in the ring history in that time, but it wasn't many times. And he made Gollum fall, and he said God knew that Frodo couldn't defeat the ultimate evil. He knew that. All Frodo had to do was bear witness and endure, basically, using my words, putting them into Professor Tolkien's mouth. He said it's basically the same thing. Frodo was just meant to endure the ring, endure its horror, carry it, use all his strength, everything he had to get it to get to the very end, see everything, and bring it right there. And God was going to finish the job, and he did. That's kind of like us. Like we can't beat the devil. We can't beat the beast. Our job here is to use every fucking ounce of our strength, willpower, show what we got. Show me what you got. Yeah, I fucking don't like that show. I think that was funny. They did have some funny parts. To be fair though, you have to have a fairly high IQ. No, just kidding. Someone really meant that at one point though. Someone really meant that pasta at one point, and that should have you concerned. But yeah, that's our job. We're not supposed to beat him. We can't beat him. We're supposed to endure and go as far as we can. And that's what it does, is we're helping God, We're getting God to the crack of doom, Maybe God can't get to the crack of doom. He needs us to do it. He doesn't expect you to fucking throw the ring in now. He throws the ring in. He does a slam dunk. He's on fire. Fucking, that's another fucking memory from years past. I used to play NBA jams on, what was it, what system was that? PlayStation 2? Me and my roommates would just sit there and just hours. Talk about brain rot. Be right back. I always thought it was funny in the books where like human villages and towns and shit would start to see orcs in their area, and they'd be like, and they become alarmed that they should when you have orcs in your area. I saw that guy bothering fucking tourists earlier. He follows girls around. Yeah, people ride on sidewalks here, they don't give a fuck. It's kind of madness here. Which is how it is when, when you let other people into your land, That's just, this should be, or this area I'm in now, should just be Pacific Islanders. This is their lands. If things happened how God intended, this here, I mean, it wouldn't, this stuff wouldn't be here. It's all white man shit. You would have Pacific Islanders here, and that's it, Polynesians. I mean, it's all that would be here. It's all that should be here. Again, you would not have any of this stuff. It would be a whole different way of life. And it would be a better way of life, and they'd be happier. Same thing with every other group. Mixing them together is the death of anything. And, the people with their hands on the controls, they know this. They know mixing people together is death of all people. It's the destruction of everyone. It's as simple as the Plato thing. You can't have red and blue and yellow, these wonderful colors, and then when you mash them together, it turns into brown shit. And that's kind of what's happening with the people in a lot of these mixed up cities. In Israel, they'll tell you that they have to maintain their borders because they need a place for their people to live. I mean, they pretty much would like to have it 100% Israeli there. And I think they're right, you know? They should have their own place. They should enforce their borders. What they shouldn't do is go on to everybody else and say, you can't enforce yours. And if you think about having a border, you're literally Hitler. You know, which is what they do. Which these days, you know, the way the kids feel about the mustachioed men, they'd be like, nice. Everybody thinks he's cool now. You look at those fucking, you know, well, not TikTok anymore, but on X they have a lot of these cool edits that just make him look like a superhero. Yeah, the Zoomers, they're not taken in by all that Holocaust stuff. That's all we learned about as kids in school, though. Like, what was it? The Indians, right, being murdered, and the Holocaust, and how we're the bad man. But even though I was told I was a bad man my whole life, I never thought I was a bad man. I never felt that shit. Never felt guilty for a second, you know. Not for a second. How you doing? And I still don't. The people that do feel guilty, it's the biggest problem for white people isn't other people. I mean, they are a big problem, of course, but it's the people in our own community that stump for them, that are guilty white people. Guilty white people are the most damaging thing to us, more so than any brown person, because they'll open the door, they'll let the wolf in, you know. What's going on here? Oh, I thought we were going. Let me get over here. I always say on the day of the rake, where everybody gets their yards raked up, I would step over the usual suspects to get to the traitors who let them in. Of course, because without those guilty, virtue signaling, childish weirdos, we wouldn't have the problem. They wouldn't be able to get in. You know, they have advocates working for them here. And they think in some strange way that because they're an ally or they're friends, that they're not going to eat them when the time comes. No, I'm on your side. It's like that protester with the Muslim guy in Britain. They were doing some, the Muslims were out, saying death to the West and all that stuff. And there was this white guy, these like Antifa types. And as the guy's walking by, he pushes him, and he's like, hey, no, I'm on your side. And he's like, no, you're not. He's like, no, I'm on your side. Like, no, you're not. It's like, dude, yeah, you don't understand. Those stupid people that allow this to happen, they're going to find out that then being an ally, that only looks good to your other weak-willed beta males on Twitter that have the same fucking bios. It only looks good to them. The people you're supposedly allied with, they see you just like they see me. We're the same, you know, because everybody's color-coded, man. The color coding, you know, gone back and forth throughout the years about how that works. I've spoken to God about it, but he's you know, he wants you to figure things out for yourself. He will answer you in time, sometimes sooner than later. Sometimes he'll let stuff just hang, you know, and let you figure it out yourself. But I found that, man, skin color is tied to a lot of stuff. The darker the person, the more this kind of person. The lighter the person, the more that kind of person. You know, it's a simple color code. And if you follow it for certain things, you're going to be right 99.9% of the time. And the other 0.5%, if you have Kurt Angle on your side, you have to add 66% to it. You take away that 66%, you put me in there with Kurt Angle, and then you add another 0.25%. And then you have 255%. And that's 100% of the chance that we're going to win that match at fucking Elimination Chamber. But the, yeah, it's, you can kind of follow that. And I was thinking about that the other day too, when I was thinking about like why the world is kind of turned against white people. I mean, it was engineered to happen that way, but it's also, you know, eventually it was going to get there, and it's definitely based in jealousy. And the reason I think that the Asians aren't screaming for our skin and wanting to kill us is because they're really not jealous of us. They can build civilizations themselves. They build great cities. They have great societies. Some are, you know, held together under pain of death. I understand that. But they have their own culture. They have their own ways. They don't covet anything we have. Except maybe, of course, the aesthetic thing. You know, their women still spend money to look as white as possible. A lot of the Asians around here will carry umbrellas, especially the Japanese, to keep the sun off them. Because in their culture, the darker your skin, the more of a peasant you are. It means you work in the fields. This is a very old thing. So they carry umbrellas to keep the sun off them. But they're the only people that don't want or need what we have, or are jealous of what we had, because they're the only ones. And that's why we have the least amount of problems with them, you know? I mean, they're my second favorite people besides my own. I made videos about it. I fucking love the Asians. I don't like the way they block aisles in stores, though. They tend to have meetings in aisles of stores, like right in the main aisle. That's the only thing. So if they worked on that, they'd be almost as good as us, you know? Just had to get the black Santa Claus. Yeah, there's a lot of pandering to the new citizens here, musically and aesthetically too. I took this video once at Ross where I was walking through the frame area. And you know how they sell frames? You know what I mean? They every single one was not just a non-white family, but it was a black family, and every single one. It's almost like a memo went out. All right, now we got to change, because this was never like this here. None of this stuff was ever like this before, when they didn't live here, you know, which is pre-COVID. Okay, well, just as I'm saying that, I'm watching a scene play out that I see many times a day, where a new resident questioning someone about something, about some aspect of life here that they don't understand. Usually getting agitated. Well, why? I don't know. It's that case. You know? No. I guess there's something else going on there too. Of course there's a problem. There's always a problem. Going back to, people can't live harmoniously as a mixed whatever the fuck they call it. A mixing bowl. Melting pot. The term melting pot, that appeared in the 1960s from a Jewish psychologist. I forget his name. You probably look it up. And that was woven into everything, where America was suddenly meant to be a melting pot. It always was. And this thing caught on. And now you hear people say it all the time. It was never meant to be a melting pot. In fact, it was supposed to be an escape from having to live under British rule and worship a certain way and act a certain way. It was a breakout of Christians who came here, Christian white men, so that they could have their own place to live without having things pushed on them. Fast forward to now, and I'm trying to tell you, this is like a no man's land. It just came up out of the ground. All these buildings, all the technological wonders, they happened all by themselves, and they belong to everybody. You know, I like that truck. I gotta start getting more gear like that truck, because it makes people mad. I started to, although I've always, well, not always, hell, it happened 2017. I came back to God. Actually, no, was it 2018 I came back to God? 2017 is when the demonic attack started with my friend Craig there. It took me a year to figure out, well, if there's an evil side. And it's funny because I've been into following the occult or studying it, you know, and understanding that the dark gods and the demon stuff. And never once did I consider that there was a God too. It's kind of weird. I think that's part of the fucking spell. But even when we were being besieged, or he was, and I was just trying to help him out by demonic entities, emanating from Chinatown. It's a long story. We've done videos on it. But the even then, I wasn't thinking about asking God for help. Because in my mind, I still had that mental block that, well, this is all real, but that's not real, right? It took me a fucking while. But even when I finally came back to God, I was hesitant to call myself a Christian because most of the Christians that you run into, especially online, are complete assholes. And the more loud ones are AA Christians or Alcoholics Anonymous Christians, people that turn to Christ out of desperation to get them from blowing people at the train station for crack. So now they're very hardcore. If you don't follow Scripture, if you don't do that, if you don't do what they say, they're going to be back at the train station. That's the quiet part they don't say. That's why they get so mad at you. Because if you're not following Scripture the way you think you are, that's why they attack you and attack me in comments, whatever, about how I'm not a real Christian, or you can't be a real Christian unless you know this and do that. And they purity spiral. They try to have those quote-offs, like who can quote most Scripture. All the most useless, basic, surface things of Christianity you can imagine. Because if you don't do exactly as they do and live in fear of all that, you're going to be back at the bus station. I ain't going back to the bus station. I ain't ever going back to the bus station. Unless I absolutely have to. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't take those people seriously. And that's why when I saw the world kind of turning on Christianity, I saw that the letter agencies, the FBI in particular, had put some people undercover in some Orthodox Christian churches. They didn't say why, but it came out in another court case for something else they were involved in. And it blew the cover of these people that were undercover in Orthodox Christian churches. What they were looking for, I don't know, but they really want that Christian terrorist thing to be real. Just like they want the white supremacists to be real. They don't have them, so they have to make them up. They have to do shit like this. They have to pretend, you know. Does this look? If you're taken in by this, well, if you're taken in by this, you're not watching me. But yeah, it's fucking stupid. I don't want to drag this on too long. So I think I'm about at the point where I'm gonna start recycling ideas from the last 5 minutes, and I tend to do that. I'll say the same thing 8 different times, 5 different ways. So I'm gonna let you go now. If anything exciting happens, and it can here, you know, you never know. I got you in my pocket. Till next time, thanks for popping in, and don't blame the teacher, blame the scroll. Professionalism. Just had a great white guy moment with another white guy. We're approaching he's coming from the opposite side of the street I'm coming from. We both stop at a driveway where there's an individual, some kind of mystery meat kind of individual. He's got his backlights on, like he's backing up. So we both stop. We're waiting. He's got the lights on, like any second he's gonna go. Not going anywhere. So I look at the white guy across from me, like, what the fuck? He's like, we both at the same time without saying anything, just go. He's like, I'm like, very scary, very scary. He's like, taking a chance. We're taking a chance. I like having those little moments with my people. Because, like, to us, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? But to them, you know, and whatever kind of melting pot kind of brain he has, he's doing his own thing. And we're just trying to, I guess, put white supremacy on him by making him move. I don't care if he moves. I just don't make it seem like you're going to, and then surprise us and go, no, now I'm going to go. I go, all these people got their license by fucking lottery, by nepotism anyway. That's how everything works here anyway.